Hi, Tom Bull from Sun Racing here with our Newmarket preview of day 2 of the July Festival. I'm delighted once again to be joined by Chad Yeomans of Betway and Templegate of the Sun to discuss what is a classy day of action at Newmarket and a very, very exciting day of action at Market Rasen. But firstly, we're going to kick off at Newmarket with the Falmouth Stakes, Group 1 contest for fillies and mares. Agincourt, Magic Wand, Nazif, Bellum, probably the 4 to concentrate on, but One Master, Bilsden Brook, and Under the Stars, a big price are in there as well. Templegate, we'll start with you. What's your take on the race, and do you think Bellum is the one to beat?
I think she has to be, doesn't she? I thought that was a pretty good run behind Circus Maximus, made that one pull out all the stops in the Queen Anne. She'd been going well over a bit further, hadn't she? But that drop back to a mile seemed to be fine. Just chinned on the line, as we say. I think that was a pretty good run. I mean, it's not the greatest price in the world. I think will be favourites. But when you look at the others, there's a couple of question marks, although I do think Nazif, the way he keeps improving every time he runs, really, and that was a really good win at the Royal Meeting as well, wasn't it? This is tougher, but, you know, she's got a long unbeaten record and could easily step up. One Master's quite interesting, just because best form seems to be over a bit shorter, but did nearly win this last year, of course. And Magic Wand ran well in the Eclipse. But on balance, I think Bellum is rock solid in this, despite being likely favourite.
Great stuff. Thanks, Steve. What about you, Chad? Bellum for you or something else?
I think she's the right favourite. And to be honest, she probably will win the race. I probably won't even have a bet in the race, but she's the right favourite. That second to Circus Maximus in Ascot Royal Ascot was very, very good. There's something I like about One Master. There is something I like. Ran well in the Diamond Jubilee over 6. That would have been too short. Won the Foray for the last 2 years running. Is that the race I'm thinking of? It's called? Yeah. I always forget the name of the French races. She will prefer the stiffer 7 to the Diamond Jubilee 6. And Haggis's horses are in absolutely flying form. So, not saying Gosden's aren't, but there is just that extra edge that Haggis's have got. Nazif just keeps winning. That just, for me, sometime it has to stop. Hopefully that's tomorrow, or hopefully that's Friday. Magic Wand ran well in the Eclipse, but again, I think didn't run 4th in the Eclipse, if that makes sense. It wasn't the 4th best horse in the Eclipse, but finished 4th. I think the other 3 are probably a little bit need to improve an awful lot to get close. But I'll go with One Master, just on the basis that it's a narrow second in this last year to Voracious. And it was a good run in the Diamond Jubilee. Would have put a spot on for this.
Okay, lovely stuff. I think Bellum will win, but I would give a good shout to Agincourt, who I thought ran a really good race behind Nazif and possibly was on the wrong side of the track in the Duke of Cambridge. And Under the Stars, I don't think is beyond the realms of possibility that she's got a chance at a big price, because she's getting a lot of weight from her rivals. Won a listed contest last time. Yes, she needs to step up, but I think she's going to run well for James Tate. Okay, guys, moving on now. We're going to go to the top of the card, the first race on ITV, which is the Price Promise at Bet365 handicap. This is a very, very competitive handicap. There's a huge amount of them on the card, aren't there? Loads of really hot handicaps. Fighting Temeraire won last time out. A few of these down the bottom. Hammergun, Lucky Louie, Bob in the Bar, Zui Feng at the top, Presidential, Herculean, all very good horses on their day. Chad, start with you, mate. What's your take on the race? It's a really competitive affair, isn't it?
Yeah, all these big field handicaps over 7 furlongs, whether they're at Newmarket or whether they're at Ascot, they're all very similar and they're all very competitive. They're a cavalry charge. I was surprised to see Presidential at the top of the market, anti-post. He is my selection for the race. I thought he'd be a bit bigger. He won on his seasonal reappearance, but then finished 6th behind Sabuska, was just the biggest eye catch that day. Travelled, probably wasn't in the right position. It was towards the middle of the track on the near side group, but on the far side of it, all the winners came from the right on the stand side rail. Roger Fell's got fantastic record in these big field handicap. Ben Curtis, as we all know, is absolutely flying and has been for the last 12 months. Presidential was third at Newmarket off 91, runs off 89 here, behind Movitism at the Craven meeting last year. Definitely got a chance on that. £3 lower. sorry, £2 lower. Mental math is completely gone then. I just think you probably get an each way price, and we'll run on to a place. There's another couple I think are also good each way bets. Fox Leicester, Betway ambassador Andrew Balding, showed some really good form last season. Was third behind Pogo at Newmarket in May. Pogo, we all know, has improved and gone on and won the Midsummer at Windsor recently. Was an easy winner at Sandown the time after that. It's been gelded and had wind surgery. Will stay further than this, and we know they're going to go a clip, and will be doing his best work towards the end of the race. So a mark of 87 could be very competitive, but Presidential will be the one for me.
Great stuff, Chad. Thanks. I might as well butt in here actually just before Templegate, because I agree with you on on Fox Leicester. I know he's had a few noughts next to his name, but he's had a wind up, as you say. He's had a gelding operation. He's on a decent mark on that Sandown victory, and I think he's worth a shot under Sylvester de Sousa. He could yet be better than an 87 horse, so I'd be glad to go with him as well. Templegate, how about you?
Yeah, 20-odd runners, and I picked the same one as Chad, Presidential. Again, I mean, you could see what happened at Royal Ascot, especially as the mile is probably not his ideal distance either. Slight concern is if, well, not a concern, but I prefer it if the ground was on the soft side, because he really does like a bit of giving it, and a few of these don't. But I think at the prices, I mean, I actually thought he'd be a little bit shorter than he is, so I'm quite happy with Presidential there. And like you say, there's plenty of these have been going well. I thought Lucky Louis missed the kick a mile at Chepstow last time before finishing like a train. Probably couldn't afford to do that again, but it was a decent run. And I also keep an eye out for Herculean as well, running for Stuart Williams now, ex-Roger Charlton. Interested to see him come right back in trip. Right back, fair bit back in trip. I think he could outrun his price, but yeah, Presidential's got my vote.
Great stuff. Presidential for Steve as well. Moving on now to the 225, which is the speed test for fillies. The Duchess of Cambridge Stakes over 6 furlongs. Dan Dalla, all eyes will be on her, I'm sure, after our brilliant victory in the Albany Stakes last time out. More Beautiful is to go on a bit of a recovery mission here for Aidan O'Brien and Ryan Moore. She is around about the 4-1 mark. We also got Time Scale down the bottom for Oisin Murphy and Rafe Beckett. This horse has looked very progressive in her last 2 starts and bolted up last time out. There's also the likes of Hala, She Do, a few others in there, Chica Bella, Fev Rover. But to me, it looks between the top 3 in the market. Templegate, would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, I'd even narrow it down to the top 2, really. I think Dan Dalla and Timescale were the 2 I found it not difficult to split them up. I think Dan Dalla's effort in the Albany Stakes was just so good. The time was decent as well, just the second run. You'd expect more. But again, you know, Timescale's won at Newmarket and on the other track. And she really travelled really well in really eye-catching fashion. I think it'll be a great race between those 2. Obviously, More Beautiful was well back before that flop at Royal Ascot, so maybe it was just an off day. And also interesting to see Frankie on one for Kevin Ryan. Hala. Hasn't beaten a lot so far, but again, I think that was a reasonable time and could step up. But I mean, Dan Dalla, I think will just edge out Timescale, but again, the prices reflect that.
Lovely stuff. Chad, would you agree with Steve?
Yeah, I would actually. I'd say, to be honest, the way Dan Dalla won at Ascot, I was really impressed. And as Steve said, really good time. And the time of her maiden win was very good as well. So she backed up a really good first performance with a really good second performance. I don't know if I think she's bulletproof or not. I think she is. I think she is a certainty. And I very rarely say certainty. But I just think what she did that day at Ascot, she put lengths between the field. Her time was good. She travelled well. She quickened. She could just be the best 2-year-old filly we've seen this season. Timescale was a good winner of the Betway Empress filly stakes at Newmarket last time. She's still, to me, has got to improve slightly, and I was impressed with that day. I do think More Beautiful will finish second. What impressed me most was on her debut that she, despite the fact that the race was put to bed 2 furlongs out, she was always going to win. Shamey gave her a few cracks of the whip and really made her learn her game so she could go to Ascot a bit more battle-hardened, because ideally, Aidan likes to get 2 runs into his horses before he takes them to Ascot. And I think he just wanted to give her a really good first education. She didn't, I wouldn't say she flew home, but she certainly stayed on towards the end of the race over 5 furlongs at Ascot. She's going to appreciate going up to 6. and out of all the 2-year-old fillies that there is at Ballydoyle, they've chosen More Beautiful to come here, and this looks like it could be one of the better ones we've seen from the stable. But I do think Dan Dalla is really, really good, really useful horse.
Excellent. Yeah, I tend to agree with you. I think she's a very exciting animal in the making, and I don't really see how you can almost oppose her, considering how impressive she was at Ascot, and she beat some really good fillies there by 6 lengths going away. So until she stops improving, stops progressing, I don't see any reason to take her on. Timescale, yes, was very impressive too last time. She beat a filly called Concessions, who had previously won at Chelmsford. So the form looks pretty good for her. But I'd be inclined to go with Dan Dalla. I think those 3 that we've all mentioned are probably streets ahead of their rivals, for all that some of them have only raced once. But they've got a fair amount to find on the figures, I would imagine. So Dan Dalla for me in the 225 as well. Okay, moving on to another.
On that bullet.
Go on.
If anyone does like Timescale, last time out, you've got to be looking at Seattle Rock because of the line through with Concessions. There was only a couple of lengths between Concessions and Seattle Rock on debut at Chelmsford. And I just think at the prices, Seattle Rock's going to be around 16-ish. Timescale's going to be around 5 to 2-ish. If you do like Timescale, you've got to look at Seattle Rock as an each way bet. Good
stuff. I agree with that. Okay, lovely. Moving on now to the 3 o'clock. Which is the Bet365 Trophy, a heritage handicap. This one over 1 3/4. A really cracking field for this, with plenty of old familiar names in this. The likes of Dash of Spice, who's actually returning from a mammoth layoff. Would be some performance from David Ellsworth to get him to win. King's Advice, Dubai Future at the top. Goose Watch, another one who hasn't been seen. Well, we've seen about 4 weeks ago, but before that had a long absence. There's a few, and it was Amazing Red, Rashun, Holy Kingdom, who heads the market for Tom Clubber. He's having a great season so far. Sam Cook, another one coming back from a really long absence. And Christopher Wood down the bottom for Paul Nicholls. Steve, what do you reckon on this race? It's a cracker, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's one of those where you can give so many of them a chance. I've gone for Christopher Wood, right down the bottom, Paul and Megan Nicholls. I just think that was a good run-up. I know it was only Pontefract, but I thought battled really well. Going up in trip here, obviously he's a decent hurdler. I don't think he'll have any issues seeing out the distance. And Megan Nicholls, she's really good value for a claim. Obviously you've got Holy Kingdom there, run really well on the Rolling Mile, up only £4 for a pretty convincing success. Frankie's on Cape Coast, came back from a long break. As long as he doesn't bounce after finishing second last time, I think he could run well as well. I've got Dash of Spice and Sam Cook on my short list as well, but I think Christopher Wood at the odds, I think he'll give us a decent run, especially as Paul Nicholls, when he does fire one at a flat handicap, they don't tend to be too far away.
Okay, yeah, lovely. Before we come to Chad, I'm just going to intervene again because I agree with you. I think Christopher Wood's going to win this, or at least go very close. Won really well last time. It's got such a low weight, and considering he's pretty decent tool over hurdles, I think he can probably rank higher than this Sphere, and we'll know he'll stay the distance. And obviously, as you say, Megan Nicholls, good value for her claim. For Paul, who's had loads of winners recently. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Christopher Wood as well. Chad, have we got 3 for Christopher Wood, or are you going with something else?
No, I'm going to go for something else. It's actually not the kind of race I'd bet in because it's so competitive. And as Steve, you said, you could literally make a case for every single horse or for plenty of horses. It looks like Mark Johnson wants to win this race. He's got a few in it. And I do think the Max We Can with Ryan Moore on board would probably be the best of his runners. He was 4th at Royal Ascot behind Pujera Prince. He probably didn't get the best traffic. Didn't have the best passengers, bit of traffic en route, and stayed on stoutly towards the end of the race. Gone up a pound for that. It's always difficult, isn't it, when horses don't win and get put up in the handicap. How long can they keep doing that for without being too penalised? But I do think he's got stamina written all over him, and I do think he'll stay really well. And Rashun, if the ground does get a bit of cut in it, which I guess they're forecasting, he could go well under Jim Crowley for trainer Ian Williams. But it wouldn't be a massive betting opportunity for me, but the Max We Can would be the selection.
Lovely stuff. The Max We Can got some good form over this trip in the past. I'm afraid, gents, we're on to another very competitive handicap, the Bet365 handicap, another heritage handicap, this time over 1 1/4. There seems to be an endless amount of them on Friday, but it's great to have them. Enemy is very well fancy for John Gosden and Ashim Murphy. Just had 3 starts. That horse Kips, obviously becoming a bit of a bridesmaid, but has first-time blinkers to try and perk him up a little bit. Went oh so close at Royal Ascot last time out. Grand Rock towards the top for Pierre-Charles Boudot. Morisco heads the weights. And a few others in there to make note of, including Al Mason, Zabil Champion, and Global Storm, who ran a really big race in third, also at Royal Ascot last time. Should I come to you first? Another really good race. What do you like?
Kips. This is the last chance saloon for Kips and I. I've backed Kips at Haydock, and Kips got collared. I backed Kips at Ascot, and Kips got collared. And this is the last chance that Kips is going to have my hard-earned cash. But I do think those blinkers will make a difference. I think he was very green at Haydock and he was very green at Ascot, or still quite green. I think having Ryan Moore on board is no negative whatsoever. I don't know whether he'll be as far back as he was at both Haydock and Ascot. That's not a knock to the jockey. That was just, I think he's going to be ridden a bit more prominently. I think he's going to be given a kick. And I think if you'd said to his owners at the start of the year, do you think coming into the middle of July, your horse Kips will be rated 88? They'd have laughed at you and said, no, it'd be £20 higher than that, because I know exactly how highly they rate this horse. I think he's a proper bet, this horse. This is the last time I'm going to say it. This is a proper bet.
I love that. I love the confidence. First time blinkers to work the Oracle for Chad. Steve, what about you?
Yeah, I think me and Chad have to form a Kips victim support group, because everything he just said, the same. I've got a large hole in my bank account where the winnings from Royal Ascot should be. I'm going for him again, and I think the blinkers could make the difference, but at the start of the race rather than the end, because he's too keen last time, I think, at Ascot, and then just paid the price for that late on. And hopefully the blinkers, he'll just settle a bit better. And as you say, Ryan Moore, I'm certainly not one of those people who has a go at him. He's a top jockey. He's just, like you say, he should be a stone higher in the weights, and he should win. You know, and let's hope today's the day, or Friday's the day. The one I'm worried about is Global Storm. I think was a bit unlucky at Royal Ascot last time over this trip, and I think that's another horse who should be ahead of the handicapper. But Kips, if he does it, it's fine, because the price should be bigger than Royal Ascot, so it'll be all right. But if he doesn't, as I say, we'll all desert him, and then he'll win 6 in a row.
Indeed. That's 3 for Kips, because I'm going for Kips as well. Yeah. Very much forming part of the Kips fan club. But I think first time blinkers are hopefully going to perk him up enough so that we can see him produce what I don't think he has produced yet, which is his real ability. I think he's been too much of a monkey so far. So hopefully he can produce it and run a big race. That's Newmarket done and dusted. Now we're swiftly heading off to Lincolnshire, where Market Raisin has a fantastic card featuring, of course, the Betway Summer Handicap Hurdle and the Betway Summer Plate Handicap Chase, both of which, as always, very competitive, featuring some real favourites with the crowd, or not with the crowd, as it will be this year. Let's start with the Betway Summer Handicap Hurdle, guys. Red Force 1 in there for Paul Nicholls, Fair Mountain for Dan Skelton, and Fia Soul for Ollie Murphy. Now, you'd be inclined to think that if you went for one of those 3 trainers at the moment, you'd probably be in the money. Templegate, what do you like in the race?
I've gone for Red Force 1, 5th from a run on the flat. Ran some good races last season. I'm thinking back to a race at Ascot in November when he was a close second. Ascot, I suppose, not massively dissimilar to Market Raisin in its layout. Only 5, hopefully more to come. Should run all right and give us a decent run. I think Dino Velvet's another one who likes the track, and he's 5th from a run at Southall. And Alan King has been doing well in both codes, but I think Red Force 1 will be carrying my cash in this. Okay,
lovely stuff. 1 for Harry Cobden and Paul Nicholls. Chad, what do you think?
Yeah, going on what you said at the start, if you look at some of the trainers in form at the moment, Skelton, Murphy, King, Nicholls and Emma Lavelle had a treble at Newton Abbott earlier in the week. It is very difficult to pin down. I do like Red Force 1, Steve. I think that second behind Gumball at Ascot last year was very good. A few good efforts in between, nothing groundbreaking. Disappointed he didn't go on and win a race since then, but I thought he was eye-catching in his run on the flat in June, wasn't it? So recently, and I think that would have put him spot on for this. These big trainers, they know these races, where they are in the calendar, and I've got no doubt this would have been plotted and schemed from a long way back. And I just think off mark 126, carrying no weight at all for an informed Paul Nicholls, I think Red Force 1 will go really well. And potentially last year's third, Ingleby Hollow for David O'Mara. Trained his 1,000th winner earlier this week of his career. Fantastic career over both codes, predominantly on the flat. Ingleby Hollow, third in this last year, stayed on. And I don't think, he might have been trained for this. Since that day, they might have thought, because he's mixed it between both codes. And it'll be a big price. It'll certainly be a double-figure price. And he clearly goes well at market raising, so he might just sneak a place. But Red Force One will be the one.
Great stuff. 2 lads on Red Force One now. I'm going to have a sneaky pick on Brandon Castle at a big price. He's dropped to a really, really good mark. And actually, even though he got beaten in fair way last time out on the flat, that was a nice warm-up for him. And he did lead a long, long way from home for a long way and went way too quick. So hopefully Bryony Frost can maintain some of his energy. But he does like to get a really big lead. So if he does get one, he may well be very difficult to catch. Now on to the last race we're going to be covering today, the 240, the Betway Summer Plate Handicap Chaser Grade 3, featuring some old classics, including San Benedetto, Bag's Groove, Royal Village, Drumcliff, Knockgraffin, Potterman, Lockderg Spirit, having a first start for Paul Nicholls with a first-time tongue tie and a first-time win dog. Chad, thoughts on this?
An absolutely cracking renewal of the Betway Summer Plate. It really is a proper competitive race. Obviously, it's great news for us. It's what we want for our sponsored race. You could make a case. I know we've said this a lot. You could make a case with so many of them. San Benedetto on his best days is very useful. Bag's Groove was a proper novice chaser, wasn't he? And then you could not. Potterman and Fiddux are also very good for Alan King. I'm actually going to go with Imperial Presence for Philip Hobbs and Richard Johnson. This horse he's been in the notebook for a while. He's actually really lightly raced for a 9-year-old. He fell at the festival when we last saw him behind Simply the Bets, but he wasn't far away. He led majority of the way, or give or take. He travels well, he jumps well, bar that fall. And I just think he could be overpriced. He finished 5th at Cheltenham the time before behind Warthog, goes from the front. And if he's fit, which I'm sure he will be, I'm sure this would have been a target from a long time ago. I think he'll go from the front, he'll jump them all in submission, and he'll make it a real test for everyone. I think he could just sneak a place, if not, cling on for the win with a bit of luck.
Excellent stuff. Templegate, what about you?
Yeah, I'm not normally one for going for horses that are coming back off really long breaks, but if you think 2 runs ago, Bag's Groove was winning the Pendle at Kempton, that's pretty good form, albeit in different circumstances, small field and everything. I just think that's high class, really. I know he didn't go to plan at Aintree after that, and he's been off for a long time, 463 days. But I just think if he's back to anything like his best, he'd be well up to this level. Similar, you could say about San Benedetto and even Lockderg Spirit as well. They're 2 others who are back, although San Benedetto's had to go on the flat, which has helped. They're both graded performers as well. But I think Bag's Groove, if he's anywhere near what he was, then I think he'd go a long way to winning this.
Excellent. One for Bag's Groove, an old favourite of many. I'm going to stick with another Harry Fry horse, actually, Art of Payroll. He's 11 years old now, so he's not getting any younger, but he's dropped to a really nice mark, and Sun Racing ambassador Sam Twiston Davis takes the ride, and that can mean one thing: the money is down, or at least it will be. So Art of Payroll can land that, hopefully, for me, the Betway Summer Plate Handicap Chase. Lads, thank you very much for your time, as always. And we'll be back for another preview tomorrow for Newmarket on the Saturday, the big racing of the week, including the July Cup. So I look forward to that. Cheers, guys, for everything. And best of luck to you all at home with all your bets.
Love it.